How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the FireStorm podcast. Today, we are talking about, well, mostly me is going to be talking about professional wrestling. We have talked about WWE before and
I had
predicted it.
the concert power hour. Now this is Trent's time
Oh, yes.
to ramble.
Yes. Yeah, the concert power hour. That was a lot of fun. That was good listening to uh, everything, all the recent concerts you've been going to, which is very fortunate because fuck yeah,
Yeah.
you got all that shit going again. Meanwhile, me, I'm gonna be angry.
Backstreet Boys tour is ending finally.
They're back again. But
Backstreet.
but
All right.
yeah, now's my time to get angry. I'm gonna progressively get angry
Yeah.
throughout this.
It's always me that ends up playing stupid, shitty games and getting angry. Now it's Trent's turn.
Yes. Meanwhile, I play games where I get like fully immersed in the story, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't good content. And so,
Wait a minute.
wait a minute, this is just
Too
me.
bad that didn't happen for Yakuza.
Actually, so far Yakuza's gotten it's gone all right so far, but oh well, it doesn't matter.
Whoa.
It's
That was a
okay.
good one.
It's all right, but that's besides the point.
It's a game.
It is a game. We are here to talk about primarily WWE. We have done predictions and all that for WrestleMania and Royal Rumble previously, but I know at least for both of us, we've kind of zoned out of WWE. My reasons are quite different compared to Gus. Like, what are the reasons you've just stopped watching?
I've been distanced from it. Like, I still, basically the extent of my knowledge is I occasionally watch, like, a news video or whatever on Cultaholic. That's because I'm still subscribed to them. They're the only wrestling channel I'm still subscribed to, and I still follow all the guys on Twitter. But, like, yeah, I guess, like, especially now where I'm, like, really focusing in on my school stuff and music, like, I kind of just fell out of it. And I guess I, like, replaced what I was, like, I'm using the time I was using to watch wrestling. I'm now using it to, like, read manga and stuff. Because, like, that kind of fits in with what I do anyway. Like, because I think it's fair. Like, part of my job is watching anime. So that kind of, like, falls in to it, like the manga stuff. So, like, the I've kind of, like, distanced myself from wrestling. Like, I'm still keeping up to a very minimal extent. Like, obviously, I know about CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and all that nonsense. But it's, yeah, I've kind of, like, just fallen off. Like, I guess my thinking is, right, like, I feel like wrestling, once you, like, know it, you could, like, get back into it at any time you want to. You know? Because, like, you can jump back in, like, once you understand, like, how it works and, like, all that kind of shenanigans. You could, like, at any point, you could be like, oh, look at the stuff that XX company is doing with their talent, or, like, whatever. And you would still, like, understand it to at least to a certain degree. You might not have all the context, but you'd still kind of understand what's going on. So I don't feel horrible about falling off of wrestling, like, because I'm hanging on by a thread right now.
Yeah.
But it's like it's fucking like baby spider type shit. Like, it's not very strong, but yeah, like, I couldn't ever really get into AEW, and I don't really, like, I don't think that's their fault. I think that was just part of me falling off of wrestling. But yeah, like, and now, like, because the one thing I was super consistent with when I was super into wrestling was NXT. That was the thing I was like, I love NXT, and I still do to an extent, but it just doesn't have the same feel to it anymore. And it's not because of the 2.0 shit. It's just the talent crowd is all. I mean, fucking Tommaso Ciampa is NXT champion, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I'm not as into it nowadays, but it's just, I guess it was just a natural drop off over time. But I guess now, since I'm like, I basically have steeled myself into, like, powering through a lot of my anime watch list, which is, like, at least several miles long. So that's kind of what I've been dedicating that time to instead. So
no, that's fair. I get that. I get that. In a similar vein, it was for me dropping off of wrestling, at least in WWE's case. It's not only I tried making a video on my own channel a few months back about like explaining in depth how I got into wrestling and why I'm now like getting away from it. And but to summarize it, especially with WWE, I've just gotten bored with it. I've lost a lot of interest just because the product isn't really entertaining to me anymore. It's so much like, even when the rare moments where I find myself in a place with Foxtel and WWE is performing live and is airing live and I get to see what it's like again, it's always just interview, fucking like entrances, 2 minutes of a match, break, the final 2 minutes of a match, and that's it. And it's like, that's not
an unsatisfying finish.
And then a majority of the time unsatisfying finish. And then that started my decline, and then learning about everything that's been going on, especially like with Saudi Arabia, and their still quite dodgy deals, the independent contractor status that they loiter over the employee, technically not employees, that all the wrestlers have to fall under, which is a ripoff to them. It's like very bad for them. They don't get fucking health insurance and all that shit. They get the bare minimum, and they're independent contractors, but they're not allowed to go do wrestle elsewhere. They're not allowed to go take movie deals. They're on the short end of the stick, and it's just not fair. And as well, especially, I reckon COVID definitely fucking hurt it. It hurt wrestling. It hurt every sport because no fans. I could never get used to the fucking thousands of monitors surrounding the ring. Like, that was just, I didn't enjoy that, and that definitely didn't help. But
I remember watching the fucking I think it must have been this year, 2021 Super Bowl, and there was like hardly anybody there. I was like, that's not right.
They didn't even...
like, if you're an American citizen, you watch the Super Bowl. That's just how it is. It's like, you don't get a choice. But it's so like, I mean, there was nobody there. It was so sad.
They didn't even have really cardboard cutouts?
You know what? They had some for like the baseball games during the pandemic. That shit was funny.
I know.
They would like, it was fucking hilarious because it was like draw these random ass people and it would be like some, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like some of them were like built-in jokes, like baseball jokes or whatever. But yeah, no fans is really like, especially that period during WWE when they legit just had no fans in there. That was not okay.
Nah. Like, and at that point in time, I got it. Like, I understood why they did it. But there was also an argument to be made of why make shows to begin with, especially in such an unprecedented, unknown time. Like, no one at that time knew how to react to COVID-19. And they still decided, nah, fuck it, we'll gather these people together. We'll make sure they're tested months after, like, we get called out for not actually testing them properly. We'll test them. And like that was a huge thing as well, like how they weren't properly tested when they come into shows initially, and then they were called out for it, and then they started testing people. It's like that's fucking dumb. Like, come on, what are you like? That's just really stupid on their part. But of course, the big thing that everyone is aware of, it started, I believe, April 2020. The mass amount of releases of like, I would say, I think it's like this year alone, 2020, it's over 70 different talent. And like,
that's nuts.
Yeah, and a large majority of the contract releases have been detailed as budget cuts, which if you look at it compared to how much money WWE is making in general, that's pathetic. Like it is the most pathetic reason. Let me just find the report here on the same day. I believe it was the 4th of November. The same day where people like Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Nia Jax, Mia Yim, Ember Moon, and all that got released. The same day, earlier in the day, they had a quarter investors call where WWE reported they had made $256 million in revenue, which is one of the highest they've ever made on a quarter call. So...
Oh, quarter, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say over how long. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And on the same day, they released so much talent and cited as budget cuts. Like, that's just fucked. Like, as if that's gonna...
Budget cutting for what?
No, that's the thing. No one knows. They're just saying it's budget cuts. But they're making record profits anyway. There's this whole thing... None of this has been confirmed, but there's this whole rumor going around that Vince McMahon and Nick Khan, who he brought in, I believe, last year or the year before, they're looking to sell WWE. So they're trying to just trim the fat, make it look as profitable as possible, and then sell it for as much money as they can get. So that's one of the rumored reasons why this is happening. A lot of the talent that has been released, apparently, like FTR comes to mind, Lucha House Party as well. Apparently, a lot of those wrestlers actually asked for their release prior to this, like a long while ago. So in that case, it makes sense. But then you look at people. I don't think you would know them, especially if you haven't caught up with WWE. Do you know the faction Hit Row?
Hit Row. Oh, that's the one that Swerve Scott was a part of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know of them.
Yes. Yeah, before they got called up to SmackDown from NXT, and they originally had a member in it called BFAB, who was the only chick in the group. And apparently she got released. And apparently, literally a week before she got released, she signed a new contract. And...
Wow.
That also... That kind of summarizes how independent contractors get treated there. It's so uncertain that you can sign a brand new contract that's just like, yes, I'm going to be here for the next 3 years, guaranteed. Next week, you're gone.
Right.
And, like, I get that. Even if you're full-time, at least in Australia, like, even if you're full-time, you get 2 weeks' notice, or you get however long notice, depending how long you've been in the company for. But, like, yeah, I get it. No one's invincible when it comes to employment, but just that would be so fucking heartbreaking. Like,
yeah,
definitely that would just hurt. It's trying to think about it clearly, like all of these changes as well they're trying to make. NXT, a lot of people, like NXT 2.0, it doesn't gel with me. I understand it. A part of me understands it. Like with everything they're doing, like everything that's controversial, a part of me understands why they're doing it. For example, with Saudi Arabia, the whole point of their deal is because Saudi Arabia, they're trying to do an initiative to make them look more appealing to tourists by making them more friendly and all that. And they're doing this whole thing that's meant to last to 2030, the Saudi Arabia government, to essentially make their country.
I don't even know if
Vince
McMahon is going to last to 2030.
Oh man, if that man isn't on steroids, then I don't know what's keeping him alive. He like must,
literally.
He must have access to the fountain of youth. This motherfucker, like hearing stories
but he
about
found it when he was 70.
Oh, I know. He's just been the same age like since 70. He refuses to go past 70. He is a smart man, but also hearing stories about him and how fucking crazy he is.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the release talent have had words to say about Vince.
Not even just release talent, like people like wrestlers that are still contracted, like Jericho, William Regal, and all that. There's so many people that have told stories about Vince, which I don't know if they're true, but I believe them. Like his rumored reason.
I mean, yeah.
Like
what reasons, especially like someone like Chris Jericho, William Regal, they don't have any reason to lie about that.
No. Because I remember hearing, like, he refuses to grow a beard, and he's just like, oh, why don't you want to grow a beard? It's just like, because I can't let it win. Like, that was his fucking reason for not wanting to grow a beard. Like shit like that. He's a fucking nut. But,
if he hadn't had kids, he would have been, I haven't lost my virginity because I never lose.
True. Fucking true. But yeah, no, the motherfucker. Also, stories about him like working out. Like he only gets like 3 or 4 hours sleep a day. Like he's
how is he alive?
No, he like non-stop works, and then like at night when all the work and shit is done, he works out to 2 a.m. in the morning. Like there's stories like that. Like motherfucker, I don't know how he does it. He must drink like 17 cups of coffee a day.
He is not gonna have a peaceful death.
His heart will
like
violently
it's gonna be
explode.
in pain. Yeah,
like,
he's gonna be in agony. I know everybody says like get 8 hours of sleep. It's so important for your health, but like, you know, we're pretty young still, so like especially as far as like adults go, we're very much on the younger side. So like 5-6 hours of sleep for like a couple nights is not gonna really do any damage in the long run. But like if you're that age and doing that shit, like sleeping like 3-4 hours a night and every night, like how? It's ridiculous.
Surely he can't do that every night. There must be a day where he just crashes for 18 hours. Like, I've done that before. Like, I've stayed up for like 2 or 3 days in a row and then just crashed for almost an entire day after that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, you were saying before, I think before we started recording, Vince McMahon is a smart guy. If he wasn't a smart guy, he wouldn't have won the war against WCW. He wouldn't have made such a large profitable company. But that's the thing. A lot of this might not be contributed to Vince. Like, especially at least with the talent releases, a lot of that could be contributed to Nick Khan, who, like, him and John Laurinaitis seem to be the ones heading up all the releases. And that makes sense. It is now heavily raining here, so apologies if you can hear
it.
Rain.
Also feels like because obviously Vince doesn't do every single thing, like, creative-wise. He has the final say, but surely he doesn't write every single thing that happens. It feels like so often the creative team is, like, the same age as Vince, and they're still, like, in the 1990s. Like, they have no clue what to do with a lot of the new, fresh talent. Like... You know, I feel like they could have done so much with Keith Lee. Keith Lee was absolutely destined to be a star on the main roster. He could have absolutely destroyed it, but the creative just have no idea what to do with him. Like, because he's, you know, he's this big guy who can also fly around and move like at least akin to a cruiserweight. Like, but then they're like, no, he has to be big mean man. Like,
yeah,
he can do both of those things.
Bearcat. Then they call him Bearcat Keith Lee and just make him an angry big guy that does no high-flying moves at all. Like, they stripped him of... Like, this is... I remember reading this from Tom Campbell. They stripped him of what made him unique and then got angry at him for not being unique and then released him. Like...
Yep. That's literally what happened.
It's such a shame. And, like, you can say that about so many people. Even people like Nia Jax, I got sucked in with so many others, like hating on Nia Jax for continuously injuring people, for being sloppy in the ring, for like hurting others, and like it was very easy to dogpile on that. But they released Nia Jax when she was taking a mental break for her a break for her mental health. She requested it, they approved it, and she had a few weeks break, and then they said, okay, we need you to come do this, and she said, I need more time. And then they never got back to her, and then they released her. Like, that's unfair. Like, she probably could have done with more training to prevent injuring people. I know someone, like, at least of her stature and, like, her unique size as well. Like, it's very easy to hurt people that are, like, much, much, much smaller than you. Like, especially by accident. I feel like she could have done with some more training, but, like, releasing her when she is in the middle of a mental health break, like, I'm shocked they didn't release Keith Lee during his health breaks as well. Like, he took big health breaks. I forgot what reason why, but it was like a genuine health scare he had. Like, originally he and Mia got COVID-19. Then he came back for a bit, and then he had to go again for something else. And yeah, it was important. But looking at the lists of released people is so fucking ridiculous. Like, I remember when I was working in April 2020, I still just had work before I had to shut down, and I remember it was like one of my last shifts, and I remember going on my phone and looking at YouTube, and it was Wrestle Talk or Cultaholic, just a big live stream of all these motherfuckers have been released. So many motherfuckers, like,
yeah, I feel like I remember seeing that.
Yeah, there was like, the revival happened a week before all of this happened, but there was like Kurt Hawkins, EC3, Drake Maverick, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Kurt Angle, Eric Rowan, and like, you just look at all that and then you think, fuck. So many, like, again, a lot of these people were just mid-carders. So you kind of get it. They're not the ones drawing in the most amount of money, but then you see fucking, like, people like Zack Ryder and Rusev, people that had heydays that WWE just squashed because they didn't want people getting over by themselves. That, again, that's one of the arguments. They don't like it when people get over by themselves. They don't like it when people go out of their way to do something.
Yeah, it just feels like the creative team has like no fucking clue what to do, and they're so like what's the word? Like self-absorbed to the point where they can't let anybody get over on their own terms without their like direct, they made this idea and they got it over, not the talent. Like, it's there has to be a point where you have like that. People should realize that it's like it's a multi-person, it's a team effort is what it is, right? That's the word, team effort. Like, if the talent can pull something like that out of their ass without the creative team doing squat, the creative team should jump on that and take advantage of that. But then when they don't, it just feels like such a stupid wasted opportunity. But yeah, it's very annoying, very obnoxious. Why would they do that?
Yeah,
I think all the creative team is like 75, like Vince, and they're just like they can't do anything.
Well, that's one of the other things of there was like a 2-week saga. I have brief memories of this. There was like a 2-week saga. I think it was earlier this year when Bobby Lashley was WWE champion. There was a 2-week saga where they fucking hired a TV comedy writer to write for WWE, which they are actually known for. They're known just for hiring TV writers or comedy skit writers to make their products, which is fucking ridiculous to begin with. And I believe she was being interviewed, this comedy writer, and she's just like, oh yeah, we got all these this amazing talent. And then she genuinely asked, who's the WWE champion right now? I think his name was like Bobby. like she couldn't remember that his name was Bobby Lashley, and then coincidentally 2 weeks later she gets released, or like a week later she gets released. Like, and that's the thing. They don't want to make professional wrestling. They want to make TV drama through the medium of professional wrestling, right? Which is absolutely bizarre. They want to create interesting stories, but they don't actually care about the in-ring shit. There's only a very few that you wonder why John Cena got popular off of doing the exact same shit every match, the 5 moves of doom and the fucking FU/AA. Like, he's a good wrestler, but they want him to do the same shit and just tell different stories and do raps and cool and
be the superhero that wins every time.
Yeah, and say D's nuts to his opponent while mid-rap with a backwards cap. Like, they would rather...
I'm not gonna lie, I popped for the Thugonomics return at WrestleMania that one year. That was awesome.
I popped for that as well, but like that's the thing. They don't want people to get They don't want people to get popular for their wrestling. Like, NXT originally felt like, yeah, we want these are wrestlers. You wonder why they did Cole and Gargano and Ciampa so often. Is because they were fucking phenomenal wrestlers.
Yeah,
like they were,
and that's how
so good.
It feels like that's how DIY originally, like, their matches against the Revival, like, those were fucking, like, it was just the tag team championship match, but at the takeovers they were at, they totally stole the show, and so people like the NXT creative team totally rolled with that. They made this awesome breakup storyline between Tommaso and Gargano and I was about to say Tommaso and Ciampa, between Gargano and Ciampa. Like, it was such an awesome, like, it wasn't groundbreaking. It was just a really cool, like, you know, heated story between these two guys who could wrestle the shit out of each other. It was great. Like,
so that's a story being crafted from wrestling. It's because of their continuous losses that turned Ciampa, their few losses, sorry, that turned Ciampa, that made Ciampa turn. That is making a story out of wrestling, and they just want to make stories and throw wrestling into it. Why do you think they don't care about Survivor Series and announce all their teams on Twitter? It's because they don't care. They realized, oh fuck, there's 2 weeks to Survivor Series. We need some teams. We need to start announcing some shit, like, because they don't care. And that's an entirely different point of why Survivor Series is now completely irrelevant. No one cares about brand warfare, and that's what they're still trying to build Survivor Series around. Even though, remember back fucking 10 years ago, or like 15 years ago, they had Survivor Series teams built up on feuds. Like fucking DX versus Rated RKO and their team or whatever. Like, there were teams built up of feuds, not brands. And it doesn't even matter that they have fucking brand loyalty, because that's not a thing. They had the draft like 2 weeks before they announced the teams. It was something like either the entire team of SmackDown had previously been on Raw, or something like that. Like 100% of the team members. Something fucking ridiculous like that. So...
yeah, and they act like one member of the team not having brand loyalty is like this really edgy thing for them to do. Like, if one guy is like, I don't actually care if Raw or SmackDown wins, I just want to beat people up, everybody's like, whoa!
Oh yeah, that was fucking, that was, I think it was 2016, dude, when they brought the brand split back.
Survivor Series was good, fuck.
Because that was literally one of the Survivor Series matches. I think it was Seth and Roman were both on Raw and Dean Ambrose was on SmackDown. But then Dean helped
Dean
Seth
Ambrose
and
did
Roman.
The Shield Bomb.
Yeah, and he helped them beat up AJ Styles because they're like, no, I fucking hate AJ Styles. So that was fair, like that, fair enough. But
man,
they tried to make a story out of that.
What was that one Survivor Series that was like opened with the Shield versus the New Day? Man, remember when Survivor Series was good?
Yeah. Yeah, nah, that fucking memories. Leave the memories alone. I cannot. yeah, it's utterly baffling. That's Survivor Series. That's besides the point, and that was an irrelevant tangent. But yeah, not able.
I also remember thinking John Cena was going to beat Roman Reigns at was it SummerSlam? I remember thinking that.
Oh yeah, I saw clips of that on Twitter, and I was just like,
I don't have WWE Network, so I didn't see it. But like I saw when like, oh, John Cena's back. I was like, whoa. Yeah, he didn't beat Roman. Oh well.
I thought, no, okay, look, if they're really serious about Roman, they're gonna make him beat Cena, and they did, and I was like, okay, cool. And then Brock returned afterwards, and I'm like, oh, that's actually
he got a man bun.
Yeah, and I'm actually at that point, like, I was like in the middle of. That's when I was proper like, nah, I'm done with WWE. When Brock returned, I had the thought of, okay, that's actually going to be a good story, but I'm not going to watch it. So,
hey,
so like that was a good thing. But yeah, and now I'm looking at the most recent releases, like because they did a big thing in like April 2020. They did it again in April 2021. Like they got rid of Tucker. Man, fuck Heavy Machinery. Good shit. Chelsea Green, Kalisto, Samoa Joe before he was brought back by Triple H. Good on you, Triple H. The Iconics. Oh my god. Bo Dallas.
F's in the chat.
Bo Dallas, Mojo
What are they doing now?
They are now the Inspiration and are the Knockout Tag Team Champions in Impact.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, so they're doing a lot better. Good on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and then they did. Then a month later in May, they started doing like another lot of releases. Sorry, and then people got scared because it's like, oh, is this going to become a more frequent thing now? Okay, that's not good. A lot of it were just NXT names and all that, and then Velveteen Dream because he's a fucking creep.
It do be like that.
That was fair. And then a month later, fucking Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy. Fuck. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
That yeah, it was that lot of releases that made me go, nah, I'm fucking making a video on this. And then I got copyright strict and prevented from viewing in 13 different countries. So thanks, WWE. Fuck you.
Wow.
How does
Did you use
WWE...
their copyrighted footage? Did you? I don't remember.
I did, but I heavily edited it and slowed it down, but they didn't care. No. They still took advantage of that. But how does WWE release someone like Braun Strowman? Literally the most WWE wrestler you could ever ask for. How the fuck?
What is he doing? I bet he's like doing football or some shit.
No, he hasn't.
Or maybe he's like had a family with his wife or something. I don't know.
No, he hasn't accepted any bookings. I believe he's trying to he's gonna wrestle under his real name, Adam Scherr, I think is that his name? Maybe. He's gonna wrestle under his real name or under the name Titan, but he hasn't accepted any bookings yet. He's gonna do that next year. But
yeah, you'd feel like if they would know what to do with anybody, it would be Braun Strowman.
Yeah, and the month prior, he was in a WWE Triple Threat match, for the WWE Championship. The month prior, so yeah, there you go. Aleister Black as well. They had just revamped him. We're about to release new merch with his new gimmick on it, like about the Dark Father and everything that he had going. Then they got rid of him. Fuck. Lana, I mean, that was
not like it would have been any good anyway.
His promos weren't bad. His stories weren't bad, but they didn't do much with him. And yeah, he came out on SmackDown, his first appearance in months, attacked Big E, who I think was Intercontinental Champion at the time, maybe. Like, might be getting that mixed up. And then a few days later, he's released. Like, fuck. That's just sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lana, she was a matter of time since Rusev got released. Like, yeah, that was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Fucking Fandango and Tyler Breeze. Bruh. F's in chat. Killian Dane. Fuck, I remember Big Damo from WCPW. He was a sick gun.
WCPW original Killian Dane.
And then bro, August fucked me up. Bronson Reed, dude.
Oh.
This was a different reason. Although all those releases prior had all been like budget cuts, apparently people like Bronson Reed, Leon Ruff, Bobby Fish, they were all because of they wanted to do the revamp for NXT. So that's why they got rid of these guys. But even still, fuck. That's just sad. And of course, even you know how bullshit this one is. Bray Wyatt.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. They literally fucked up the Fiend, and then were like, "You fucked up," and released him.
Yeah, quite literally. They ruined the Fiend. They gave that gimmick to fucking Alexa Bliss. And then they said, "You're not good enough," got rid of him. Even though he was one of the top merch sellers. What?
Truly incredible.
Yeah, and then of course, the most recent ones as of recording, yeah. Fucking...
as of recording, because, you know, by Wednesday, they're going to have released some more. Definitely. And God knows.
Oh, you know what also astonishes me? Fucking Eva Marie. Despite her lack of wrestling acumen, despite her not being that great, they brought her back, like, what, at the start of this year?
Didn't they do promos for her and then release her before she debuted?
No. What they did with her is that they brought her back. They paired her up with Piper Niven, who got rebranded as Dewdrop, and looks like it is fucking dumb. They did a short story with them where I think Dewdrop literally, like, in like one of those fucking fake funny dictionaries, is like someone who's like obsessed with some chick or whatever. I don't know the exact details, but it's a real dumb name. That's what you gotta know. They had a short thing.
Tell me, I know. It sounds stupid.
They had a short thing together. Then Eva Marie betrayed her. They did a breakup thing. Dewdrop is gonna go do her own thing, and then they got rid of Eva Marie. Then they just released her. She like had a few months back in the company, and then they just got rid of her again. And yeah, fuck. It honestly does seem like they're gearing up for just they want to sell the company. It just feels like that's the way they're going. I honestly, years and years ago, they would try and buy up every single fucking talent they could just to keep them away from the indies and just to be like, yo, we got all these fucking sitcoms. Look, it's Ricochet, and then ruin them all.
God, poor Ricochet.
No one
He's
in
so
WWE.
Awesome.
I know. No one from the indies stands out. Like, Daniel Bryan was the most influential person, like, from the indies that actually stood out. And, like, main evented WrestleMania, he got both championships, was the biggest fucking sick cunt. And then, like, even he left. Even he was like, nah, I'm good. And leaves. I don't blame him. Like,
me either.
There is so much more. Even I did this as well in my video, trying to avoid talking about AEW for the longest time. Like, even away from AEW, the indies are so much more profitable nowadays. Like, although it was upsetting,
fulfilling, certainly,
and fulfilling, yes. It's a shame about Ring of Honor, how they're kind of not really done, but kind of done right now, and that sucks. But like Impact, New Japan, fucking even the smaller indies, they're so.
Well, I'm
like,
sure New Japan,
GCW.
what they're trying to get into the US, I'm sure they take all kinds of talent from WWE.
Yeah, it's just fucking unbelievable. As far as I've heard from stories as well, like, the dream destination is no longer WWE. It's fucking AEW.
Oh yeah,
and
because there you can actually wrestle.
And like the amount of free content as well you can watch on YouTube, which is like, yeah, there's a lot of indie stars on there. There's a lot of stars you don't know, but you see them wrestle and you're like, fuck.
That's the thing about it, right? That's what's so brilliant. It's like, it feels like AEW is like using their business expenses, you know, in a way that makes sense. Because really, in the end, like WWE probably has this whole ass creative team that like they pay a fuck ton of money to like write their shit, but in the end they write literal shit. Whereas like in AEW, you can do like, it seems like for the most part they really just let the stories tell themselves. Like they let the wrestlers just go out and do their thing, and then just the stories write them fucking selves. So they're allocating their business funds in a way that is like, you know, it's efficient, it's optimal, and they're probably paying those talent with their extra money that they get from like the TV deals and the fucking people who attend their shows. They're paying them to go out and wrestle despite the content being free to watch. So everybody wins. Like it's incredible. Like I was, again, I don't know anything about AEW to have to fucking watch it for myself to get a real grip on it, but I am worried about how their influx of talent. It feels like they're getting a lot of people, and I don't know where they're going to put them with only like however many shows they have.
Yeah.
So I am worried about that, but at the same time, like with how fast it's growing, I feel like if they wanted to, they could do a second weekly show. If it got to the point where they needed to do that.
They are. That's what Rampage is.
Is it on TV and stuff?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. I would not know. Like I said, I have no idea. But
yeah,
isn't that only an hour?
Yes, it's 1 hour, and it's like the hour after SmackDown, so it doesn't go head to head, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, they do have, or they already got another show, and it's I think two prime examples of why it honestly feels like AEW are much more concise and know what they're doing. First of all, I do agree with the whole influx of talent. It does seem it could be a bit of an issue. It's very easy to just get a bunch of big names and not have anything, like not do anything with them. Yeah. But I feel like a good example of why we should be less worried about that is Miro, because they brought him in. His original first storyline and gimmick of being the best man to this, literally forgot the other guy and his wife. Like, they made him do that.
Oh, and I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. He did that for a few months and had a silly gimmick, and he was just finding his place. And then after that ended, he went straight for the TNT Championship, and now he's the Redeemer and God's favorite champion, and he's like one of the fucking best they have. And
good for him.
Like, yeah.
He deserves it.
I feel like that's it. Like, people get brought in, they find their place, they have a few small feuds, and then they find a home and they make it work. And I feel like Andrade and Malachi Black are also two other examples of that, because Andrade was brought in, had I don't know if it's still going, had a short feud with Pac and the Lucha Bros, and it was like, hey, Lucha Bros, come over here, come to my side.
That's an Andrade thing to do.
Yeah, and he originally had Vicky Guerrero with him. This is one thing I love as well. They take criticism on the chin and they accept it. Originally, he had Vicky Guerrero mentoring him, like as a manager, but everyone didn't think, a lot of fans were like not receptive to that. They didn't think she was a good fit for him. So they decided to replace her with Chavo Guerrero, and they're an infinitely more better team. Like they work together so much nicer. Like the flow is much better. And then Malachi Black, they brought him in. He squashed fucking Cody. I think he had like maybe a 1 week short feud. I can't even call it a feud. Someone called him out. They got squashed. And now Andrade and Malachi Black are working together. And although it's a bit strange at first, for some reason it also feels like a natural fit. Yeah, like it's really interesting.
Maybe that's just a thing that I know of him as Aleister Black. Maybe that's just his thing. Because remember we needed that team with Ricochet and we thought it was gonna suck.
Yeah,
and it actually was good. Maybe that's just his thing. He just pulls it off.
Yeah, it's crazy how he does it. I don't know how, but him and Andrade seem to have a really good thing going at the minute.
Good for them.
But that can also be attributed to other things, like how, like, Cody and the Bucks, they don't have as much power as they used to. Like, at least with creative. Apparently, Tony Khan has taken over creative in its entirety, because, like, you remember how 2020, was it 2019 or 2020, how that ended with, like, the Bucks and Cody being beaten up by the Dark Order. I think it was 2019, yeah, and everyone hated it. So I think since then, Tony Khan has literally taken over creative, and things have been infinitely better. The second example of why it feels like they know what they're doing is Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Their entire story has, and even them starting together, splitting up, Hangman's spiral, and then even him having to leave for a while because his kid was being born, it fit naturally in. Just him leaving for a bit. Like, everything fit together, and then him coming back and finally getting the chance to fight Kenny again properly. And while all this was happening, Kenny became the belt collector and one of the top heels in the company. And, like, was just rampaging throughout so many different companies and showing off, hey, AEW is top shit. Come watch our shit. Like, it's amazing what you can do.
On TNT.
It's amazing what you can do with a little bit of freedom. Like, it's
truly
fucking that was,
and with
one
a guy
thing,
who has a brain in his head like Tony Khan.
that was one thing as well. Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, I think it was like a week or two after he debuted. There was a report. He had an interview, and said in the interview, "I'm not used to, like, having so much freedom. When I came to TV this week, I went to Tony Khan and said, all right, what do you want me to do? And Tony said, well, what do you want to do? And Bryan Danielson was like, what? Like, he hasn't had that much freedom in years, because that's just not how it is in WWE. And for WWE, again, a part of me gets it. They're a giant company, and they're trying to appeal to a younger demographic. They can't have just outward violence and swearing and fucking the shit that we would think is cool. They can't have that. And I
swearing so cool,
it.
guys.
He said shit. Oh my god.
Fuck. Oh.
Like, all that stuff. Like, they got to be a bit more. They got to keep a closer eye on that sort of shit. They got to keep a closer eye on that sort of shit. I get it. It's just, yeah.
Do you know why I saw a thumbnail that had CM Punk versus, like, Rob Van Dam on it? Do you know why that is?
I think CM Punk, again, in one of his hundreds of interviews, called out WWE because that's what he loves doing.
Yeah, it is what he loves doing. Good for him.
And Rob Van Dam fired back saying, "Oh, look, WWE's creative isn't that bad," and, like, it told his own experiences with it.
To do.
Yeah, no, he probably did it while, like, neck deeping 4 bongs.
Oh yeah, no, he was, like, fucking deep throating bong. No, I wanted to tell you about this. It slipped my mind, but so there's this new project. I'm sure I've talked about him at some point, but Jared Dines. This is totally unrelated. Tangent time.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm talking about him. Jared Dines, who is a metal guitar YouTuber. One of the guys I found when I was doing a bunch of research back in the day to, like, start producing music. Really cool, really awesome musician, super talented. One of the most well-rounded musicians I've ever seen. Like, he can play drums, he's super talented on drums. One of the most talented guitarists I've ever seen, an awesome songwriter. Like, he has these 2 EPs, The Light and the Dark, which are, like, the only, like, or at least this is one of the very few, like, hard metal stuff I listen to. Like, it's got some of those songs are, like, all screaming and no singing, and I'm like, they're still bangers. So the way he writes his songs is really cool. I really dig the way he writes his songs. And the way he writes his solos too are like there's the perfect mix of shred and melodic. So it's very nice. I really vibe with the way he writes his music. So he started a new project called Scion, which is like they're coming out with an album. But it's basically Jared doing all the instrumentals, and Howard Jones, who used to be the singer of Killswitch Engage and did the vocals for This Fire Burns, CM Punk's first theme, and they have released a couple singles, and they are fucking awesome. They are so good.
That sounds really cool, actually.
It's it's fantastic. It's awesome. Howard Jones, he has such an incredible voice. Like that man could command armies just by yelling. He doesn't even need a microphone. He could just yell. Like his singing voice too. Fuck me. That dude is the same age as my parents. He's 51, and he's still one of the coolest like metal vocalists in the game. It's such a cool project.
I think you need to send me one of those singles. That actually sounds
Yes, I'm sure you'll find it. Just look up The Blade on Spotify is their first single. I have been listening to it nonstop since I found it the other day. It's so good. So good.
Right. Okay, nice tangent there. I did like Killswitch Engage, a lot of the stuff I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's alright, but like This Fire Burns is just on another level. So
Killswitch Engage is like one of the most legendary metalcore bands ever, and Howard Jones used to be the singer, the vocalist for them.
Is it Scion as in Sion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, The Blade. Yeah, The Blade is like, I am the Blade. Oh, it's so good. So good.
It's in my need to listen to playlist on Spotify.
It's awesome. Fucking incredible. Anyway, they're coming out with an album soon, and it's going to be fantastic. I already know. It was, because I saw a comment, on one of those videos. It was like, imagine how surreal it must be for Jared. Jared's he's probably 30 something, early 30s. He's pretty young. So he imagine he grew up as a genuine metal fan. People were like, imagine how surreal it must be for Jared for Howard Jones to sing on his instrumentals, and he's like, dude, I can't even wrap my head around it. It's such a cool project. There was on the same vein of Howard Jones commanding armies with his voice, there was a comment on the Blade music video that was like, when Howard Jones says he's the Blade, I believe him. That made me laugh. That's funny.
When he says the Blade, I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
When he said, no, because the line in the chorus is, I am the Blade. Because it's supposed to be like, I cut myself, I do this to myself, whatever. So the comment was like, when Howard Jones says he is the Blade, I believe him. That was really funny. Because he's like, you don't fuck with Howard Jones. He's awesome. What a guy.
That's
anyway,
pretty good.
Continue. I was hoping you would I was thinking about CM Punk, and that's what made me think about it.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
There's just two more points, which I've briefly touched on already. I will only briefly go over Saudi Arabia because that is a very hot topic, and things have changed.
Hot topic? No way.
It's changed recently. It's just the whole thing with Saudi Arabia is really dodgy with the poor human rights records, their attitude towards women and LGBT, and originally how the matches were all fucking terrible, and they just wanted wrestlers dead wrestlers to wrestle for them, not knowing those wrestlers were fucking dead. That was all just really dumb. And then of course that whole controversy with the US journalist that got killed by Saudi agents, and yet WWE still worked for them, and WWE were trying to be like, oh, we're in Jeddah, not saying they're from they're in Saudi Arabia. They refused to say.
They never said they were actually in Saudi Arabia.
One whole pay-per-view where they refused to acknowledge they were in Saudi Arabia. Come on. We know what you're doing. It's so obvious, We know
you're in fucking Saudi Arabia, dude.
Yeah. I haven't watched it, but from what I've heard, the most recent, the first event back to Saudi Arabia was actually pretty good, from what I heard.
Really?
But
Wow.
yes, because it wasn't full of like the most nostalgic match, like with the oldest person, probably would have been like Bobby Lashley and Goldberg, and apparently Goldberg wasn't shit. So
Wow.
there you go. That's amazing to think
Maybe
about.
he just needed another big man to lead him to a decent match.
No,
They just
he needed
speared the
someone-
shit out of each other.
He needed someone that wasn't the same age as him to wrestle.
That's true.
So yeah, good on Bobby for taking that L.
Well, he did wrestle the Fiend also, and that was bad.
Yeah, true. The Fiend was a diff. Yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough. The last point is I did this in my original video, but I want to do it here. Essentially, read from this article, thecolloquial.com, about how independent superstars are treated in WWE. It's from January 2021. I'm just going to read this paragraph word for word, just so people understand why independent contractor thing is a bit fucking ridiculous. The actual rule the WWE lives by is their bottom line. They claim ownership of their performer's very likeness, and so any money generated by an individual through a third party is considered detrimental to that bottom line. In the year of COVID-19, the WWE's touring schedule halted, despite wrestlers putting their bodies and health at risk so the company can fulfill its television contracts. Many of them have taken huge financial hits. The standard WWE contract pays talent for each event worked, supplemented by royalties from direct merchandise sales and licensed products. No fans or touring means those sales have plummeted. In response, many wrestlers had seen Twitch streaming and other platforms as the perfect solution. However, WWE was further able to contractually pull the rug out from under the performers' feet due to their classification as independent contractors. They're not technically employed by WWE, but are completely blocked from wrestling for other promotions. This classification also means that WWE talent are not entitled to workers' compensation if they are hurt during a match, and the company has no legal obligation to pay its wrestlers benefits, taxes, or insurance. This exploitation has brought renewed calls for unionization and all that. But just that simple fact alone, how it's such a fucking loophole of labeling them as independent contractors, and yet they can't do anything else for any other company.
Right.
It's so
And they don't get health benefits, right?
Yeah, it's so fucking wrong. It's like, I know things are very, very different in America compared to Australia, and I know not every company would have health benefits and all that. I don't know how contracts and everything work with you guys. I'm not sure.
Neither do I. I'm not even out of school.
Yeah, fair point. So I know things are bound to be different, but these you're hiring people to put their body on the line physically, most nights when you're able to tour, and yet, if someone wants to do something extra on the side, like Twitch stream or that or anything like that, you can't. You can't go out of your way to do anything else. You have to just do what they say all the time, but you don't get any of the benefits for doing everything for them. And I can't repeat just how wrong it is. Again, there's a politician, I think, who's in Biden's cabinet, or he might not be. Who was it? Andrew Wang? Was that his name?
Yo, Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang.
He's a legend. I fucking love that dude.
Yeah, he's actually trying to make a difference. He did an interview with Chris Van Fleet after he made it prominently known on Twitter that he was going to try and change this independent contractor status in WWE. He properly called out WWE. And it's good on this man. Good on
Dude, Andrew
someone.
Yang, he ran for president. He was, I think, it must have been in 2020. My roommate at the time, he was a huge supporter of Andrew Yang. And he, told me a bunch of stuff about why Andrew Yang was, I don't remember exactly what his platform was, but I was totally on board by the end of his explanation. I was like, yo, Andrew Yang. Because he's on the younger side compared to, you know, all these other guys. I mean, Joe Mama is like fucking 80, and Andrew Yang's in his 40s. So,
yeah, he's
like,
46.
Yeah, he's on the younger side compared to everybody else. So he like is on top of it. He like knows all of this stuff about, and he grew up as like, you know, in the era of like when wrestling was a big thing. So it totally makes sense that like he would call out WWE for that bullshit. He's a legend.
Yeah.
I fucking love Andrew Yang.
Yeah,
He was never going to win the presidency because he was a third party, but still, I can dream.
Yeah, it was just that one interview I watched, which, like, him actually being passionate and knowledgeable about everything, about how the contracts and everything work, is, like, it was quite impressive. So I was like, good. I'm glad, like, even if he doesn't get voted in, at least it's being brought to, like, a political, to someone's eyes politically of how, like, improper and wrong this sort of thing is. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, they were the major talking points that I had to go through. Again, if you don't care about any of this and you're just a fan of wrestling, and if what WWE is producing, if you are a fan of it and you want to keep watching, that's absolutely fine. I am not one for one company over another. I just personally have been enjoying AEW's output. They're not perfect either. Their women's division isn't perfect. Like, there's so much like nostalgia built around just CM Punk's return, and they're trying to just squeeze that out as much as they can. And like, it's cool, but it's a bit old. It's already gotten a bit old. But yeah. But I do believe AEW is doing a lot better in every regard. And like that is just being proven alone by again the imaginary fucking TV stats and the important demographics, which no one really cares about, but apparently it's important. How like in the 18 to 39 demo, AEW is like smashing WWE in almost every regard, because like they're the guys that will keep coming back.
Right.
So that's the demographic that will keep watching and keep coming back. So, yeah.
Yeah, because they have like the ability to. They have their own TVs and shit.
But even then, I don't know how many people still watch this shit on TV. Like, what the fuck? Like,
well, I mean, a lot of people have like live sports, like. You know, I think we have like Fubo is one I'm thinking of, but a lot of like live sports services. I'm sure TNT is on those. Because a lot of people still have cable just in their houses, like whatever. I mean, I guess it's cable, whatever it is. Like they have cable TV and can watch it. It's like Wednesday at 8, so not really hurting anybody. Like it's a pretty good time to sit down and watch TV. You can go to sleep right when it ends at 10. Be like, oh, I had a good day today. I watched some wrestling at the end. Just had a good time. And you go home and go to sleep and get up and go to your fucking office job the next day. I sure do love my wife.
It's like that as well, but like I'm assuming in America as well, like with all the literally every sport, like that's popular in telly. Like that's just what they do. It sounds pretty common, which is fair. Like. We have a similar nature here, at least my dad, because like we have fucking Aussie rules football every weekend. My dad will watch every match, or at least most matches. So
I sure do love my wife and my 2 beautiful children. What a blessing each day is. I devolved into Obama at this point. Whatever.
What a blessing! What a blessing!
What a blessing! Every single day, as I sure do love Michelle. And my 2 and however many kids I have, I already lost count. But my fellow Americans, don't get it twisted. I never learned how to count in 1st grade. I don't know how I became the president. Anyway.
So yeah, that's basically all I got to say. To summarize this, if you want to watch whatever wrestling you want to watch, this is just...
To summarize this, Trent has wanted to complain for a while and needs to get it out of his system. So here it is. Yes, so thank you for listening. Yeah, watch whatever you want to watch, but I think it's pretty safe to assume from now on that
We won't be covering WWE predictions or anything like that on the channel
Pretty
anymore.
much, yeah. Unless something really
honestly
crazy
depends.
happens, but it probably won't.
Yeah, probably. And like probably we won't touch AEW either unless somehow Gus gets really into it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it would take a miracle. But I mean,
yeah,
maybe in like a year or whatever, whenever I graduate, well, it'll be in a year. I had a burp. Oh, there it is. When I graduate school and I have more time on my hands, maybe then, but probably a long shot still.
Yeah, fair enough. And
anyway, continue.
as I'm finishing this, AEW Full Gear is about to start soon. So as I'm finishing this, so
in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's a pre-show or something. It begins in 15 minutes.
Yo,
so
I'm about to put that shit on. I don't know what's going on.
I am. I've already bought the event. I'm gonna watch it. Let's go. So enjoy that. Even though
screen share with me.
I could if you want.
Shit.
We're gonna illegally watch AEW.
Let's go.
Anyway, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Follow us on. Do you want to do the outro? Or
I'll do it. Thank you guys for listening. Trent's talked enough today. Thank you guys for listening to this. You can find us on Twitter at FireStormPod or individually, me at SilverStorm100, Trent at TrentJM27. Follow us for all types of shenanigans, especially FireStormPod. That's where we tweet the shenanigans specifically.
Yes.
You can always ask us questions or give us suggestions for episodes or tell us what games you want to play. Tell us we suck dick. You don't have to be right, but shit. You can leave those in the comments, or you can email us if you really want to. If you really want to make a really elaborately worded email about how much we suck dick. You can email us at firestormproductions2@gmail.com. Of course, that's not the only thing you can email us. You can email us whatever you want, but that is the place where we will receive it. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in a couple days. I think probably for another episode of like Avatar or something. I don't know. Bye.
Yep. Bye.